A very good morning to all my dear students. Welcome back to your science class. In our previous class, we started chapter number 13, which was motion and time. From that chapter, we have covered some topics which are motion, slow or fast, speed, measurement of time, and units of time and speed. Today, we are going to cover the topics measuring speed, measuring instruments, and distance time graph. We have already studied a lot of things about speed in our previous class. That the distance traveled by an object in unit time is called its speed. We have also discussed about the types of speed, uniform speed, non-uniform speed, and average speed. We discussed about units to measure speed as well as time. We also studied about the conversion of speed into different units. And we also studied that once if we know the speed, how to find the distance or time. As we all know that the basic formula to find speed is distance upon time, which is total distance covered upon time taken. Now if we know the speed and time, but the distance has been asked, so the formula will change and it will become distance is equal to speed into time. In case if the distance and speed both are known and time has been asked, so the formula will become time is equal to distance upon speed. Now let's move forward to our next topic. Before that, I would like to ask you that have you ever seen meter-like device on the dashboards of car, bus, scooter or motorbike? As you can see in these pictures, these devices are called as speedometer. Generally, on the corner of these meters, kilometer per hour is written because it records speed directly into kilometer per hour. Therefore, we can say that speedometer is a device which is used in vehicles which measures the speed in kilometer per hour. There is also another meter that measures distance moved by the vehicle. This meter is called as odometer. Here is a picture of a digital odometer. So, odometer is a meter or a device which measures the distance, while speedometer is a device or meter which measures the speed. Now, what is distance time graph? In your previous classes, you must have studied about some graphs like bar graphs or line graphs. The graphs are the way to present information or data in an interesting form. It makes it easier as well because just by looking at a graph you can find a lot of data. For example, this picture over here is a bar graph showing runs scored by a team in each over. By just looking at this picture or this graph, you can easily tell that 1 run has been scored in first over, 5 run has been scored in second over, 3 run has been scored in third over, while 10 run has been scored in fourth over, 2 run has been scored in fifth over, and 6 run has been scored in sixth over. Here is another picture of a pie chart which is showing composition of air. By looking only this picture, you can easily tell about the composition of air. As you can see that a wide area has been covered with grey color, which is denoting nitrogen, which means that the amount of nitrogen is maximum. The second portion colored in green color denotes oxygen, shows the amount of oxygen. The third portion, which is in yellow color, is showing other gases which is only in very little amount. So it became really very easy to get the data about the composition of air without reading any theoretical part. The next image is of a line graph which is showing change in weight of a man with age. As you can see here that on the x-axis the age is written and on the y-axis the weight is written. By looking at this graph, you can easily find out the weight at different ages. For example, at the age of 2 years, the weight was 10 kilograms. At the age of 10, it was near about 22 to 23 kilograms. While at the age of 18, it was about 70 kilograms. So the main reason to show these graphs or chart was to show you or to make you understand that the graphs makes it really easy to show any particular data. So a graph is a picture or a diagram that shows relation between two or more variable quantities. A simple graph usually shows the connection between two numbers or measurements in form of a grid. A graph or a chart can be of different types based on number of quantities and representation methods. Suppose we have the data of fruits liked by the percentage of students out of 100, which is percentage of students who like banana 10%, percentage of students who like apple 23%, percentage of students who like guava is 15%, and percentage of students who like mango is 52%. So we can show the same data in different forms. Here you can see the same data represented in bar graph. You can see the same data represented in pie chart form, and here you can see the same data in line graph. So a graph or a chart can be of different types based on number of quantities and representation method. For example, if we have any object or if there is any person whose traveling time and distance is known, like in 1 hour the person or the object covers 100 kilometers, in 2 hours it covers 200 kilometers, or maybe in 3 hours it completes 280 kilometers. Now if we want to represent the same data graphically, it becomes distance time graph, as it is having the data about the distance and the time as well. So that is why it is called as distance time graph. Now how to make these graphs? You all already know that whenever we make a graph, we usually have line of axis. For example, in this graph you can see x-axis and y-axis. At the right side it is x-axis and on the left side it is x dash, while in the upper portion it is y-axis and in the lower portion it is y dash, and in the mid of it it's O, which is origin. We all know that time is always measured in positive unit. We cannot measure it in negative unit. In the same manner, the distance will also be in positive unit. We cannot measure any distance in negative unit. Like we can never say that we have traveled for -2 hours, or we never say that we have covered or I traveled for. It's not possible. So that's why this is only the possible area to plot the graph. That is why we make the graph in this manner. Let's make a graph with the data which we just discussed. When we try to plot the points on the graph on the positive side, the point where these two lines intersect represents the set of values on the graph. Here you can see set of points on the graph corresponding to positions of the car at various times. When we join all the points on the graph, initially the movement was at constant speed and then it changed the speed This is an example of non-uniform speed as well. If the speed of the object keeps changing, the graph can be of any shape. In case, if the distance time graph is a straight line, it indicates that object is moving with a constant speed, which is an example of uniform speed as well. Here's the data of a car moving from point A to point F through point B, C, D and E. Here's our line graph. There are some important points to be kept in mind while choosing the most suitable scale for drawing a graph are that we should determine the maximum quantity to be taken on each axis. We can divide the maximum quantity in smaller equal parts so that it is easy to make or mark the points. The number of equal parts to be taken depends upon the data available. For example, in previous diagram or in the previous graph, distance quantity is 10 whereas time quantity is 20. I hope that you have understood all the topics which we have studied today. Study well and try to solve the exercise relevant to the topics of today's class. Thank you. See you in your next class.